Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for one final daily dose of Commander Master spoilers. So technically we don't quite have the full main set yet. Actually, I'm not sure when they're going to reveal the full set. The schedule kind of makes it look like it's going to be next Friday after they reveal all the Commander precons next week. Speaking of Commander precons, if you want to keep up on those next week, Tomer is going to be covering them in daily spoiler videos over on the MTGGoldfish Commander YouTube channel, so make sure to look out for that. Those decks look really sweet. But as far as the main set, my understanding is we have every Mythic revealed in almost every rare. I think there's a handful of rares that are outstanding. If any of those prove to be sweet once we get the full set next week, I'll do a video about them. But I think this is most likely going to be our final daily spoiler video for the main set. So before we jump into the cards today, a couple of quick reminders. First, if you need any Commander Masters cards, you can snag it from our sponsor Card Kingdom over at cardkingdom.com/MTGGoldfish. Second, if you want to keep up on all the latest spoilers throughout the day and throughout next week as we're revealing the Commander precods, make sure to head over to MTGpreviews.com. Anyway, let's one last time tier rank some Commander Masters. So we kick things off today in the A tier, so $25 to $50 cards, nothing in the S tier range today. The best and most important and also funniest reprint of the day, Fierce Guardianship, the blue member, the most important member of the free spell cycle from Commander 2020. The funny part about this is it didn't actually get previewed by anyone. Instead, it just randomly showed up in the card image gallery, which is really weird because it's such a chase in-demand card. You would think this would be one of the most important cards to preview, so kind of weird that it just showed up in the gallery. Most likely it was someone's spoiler and they forgot or couldn't post it for some reason, so Wizards just did it. But a little bit weird. Regardless, one of the best and most broken counter spells in the format from CDH all the way down to casual, and it's going to get way cheaper based on this reprint. We also got Grave Pact with a pretty awesome new borderless Kev Walker art. Grave Pact a little controversial. It's kind of a salty card. Some players really don't like it. Whenever a creature dies, you make everyone else sacrifice a creature. Really brutal in any sort of sacrifice decks, and also can just be played in any black creature deck to get value out of it. But this is a card that's over $25, a really solid reprint, and in this case I guess I'm kind of glad it's at Mythic because it is super obnoxious to get like pseudo locked out of the table by this card. Moving on to the B tier, I mentioned in the intro Zacama Primal Calamity, it being reprinted, whatever, that's fine, that's kind of expected. The exciting part is it got dropped down to rare, which is really going to help with the prices of this. The same with Gisela Blade of Gold Knight. This is a card that's always been a Mythic, showing up at rare for the first time, so this is really going to help decrease the prices of these popular Commander staples. Perfra's God of the Forge, that one's staying at Mythic, and that one's still a really in-demand Commander. People just love making a bunch of tokens, burning people out of the game. Tooth and Nail getting its first reprint in quite a while with new extended border art, and Miri Weatherlight Duelist. I didn't actually realize that this is almost like a $20 card. It was like $16, $17 or something, but another solid reprint there as well. Moving on to the C tier, we get some decent removal. Song of the Dryads. I feel like Song of the Dryads is a Commander card that people should play more than they do. Turning any permanent into a forest, yes, you're ramping your opponent, but it's permanent removal for a Commander. Like if you hit your opponent's Commander with this, it doesn't go back to the command zone. It just becomes a forest, so until your opponent can kill the Song of the Dryad or kill their land, their Commander is going to be useless. So it's very, very powerful removal because of how it interacts with Commanders. Fraley's good in Elf decks. Steel Shaper's Gift. This is one of the cards you can already see the huge price drop. This was like a $20+ card. The reprinted version is already being pre-sold for like $6 or something, so it's dropped a ton despite the fact it got bumped from uncommon up to rare. And then Twilight Prophet, pretty good card draw. Stonehoof Chieftain, card that I never actually see in Commander games, but it's one of those old precon cards that hasn't been reprinted a bit, so the price just keeps creeping up. Moving on to the D tier, not a ton to see in the $2 to $5 price range today. Divergent Transformations, another Undaunted card. Shikiko, Mother of Summer, kind of a cool old Kamigawa card, but I never actually seen anyone play it. Nihiri the Lithomancer, another Planeswalker, can be legal as your commander, which has kind of got power crept out of the format, I think. Like, if you're going to play an equipment deck, there's just better commanders, like Sram, for example, than Nihiri, but still, it's kind of fun to have a Planeswalker as your commander, even if it's not that competitive. Finally today, in the literal bulk tier, One thing I will say about these cards, so obviously, these are the cards you don't want to open in your expensive pack, but I will give Wizards credit that many of the cards that are literal bulk are at least playable cards, like Savine's Reclamation, that's a legit staple. Tisa Karlov, really popular Orzhov commander. Rafika the Many, this used to be one of the scariest Voltron commanders in the entire format. It's kind of fallen off, it's over a decade old now, but it used to be super scary. Azorius Predation, one of the best Wraths that you have in a green deck. Idol of Oblivion, really good card draw for token decks. So these cards, even though they're bad opens from a value perspective, at least they're good cards that if you do open it, yeah, you're going to be disappointed that you spent 12 bucks and got a 50-cent rare, but at least you can use that 50-cent rare in your deck. So there is some upside here, even if they're not great from a price perspective. Finally, in the realm of lower rarity cards, a couple of okay reprints, Darksteel Mutations like a buck, Hamza's like a buck. The big one I think is Kadama Reach, coming with the extended borderless version. Cultivate #2, one of the best ram spells in the commander format, and it's always nice to be able to get $1 or $2 of value from your common slot. Anyway, that brings us to the end of our daily Commander Master spoilers, not just for the day, but spoiler season as a whole. So now that we've seen almost the full set, what do we make of this set? And I think there's two big takeaways for me. Takeaway number one, and this might be controversial, but I actually think this set is really good. So I know prices are super high to get sealed product, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but if you just look at the cards in this set, other than not including Mana Crypt, at least we haven't seen Mana Crypt so far. I assume that means it's not in because I think we have all the Mythics and it would definitely be a Mythic. But other than no Mana Crypt, it really is a who's who list of the most important, most expensive commander cards. So congrats to Wizards on actually kind of hitting it out of the park as far as just making sure almost all the big expensive chase cards are in this set. The other thing that they did that I really like is there's a ton of cards that were originally Mythics that are rares in this set. And that, I guess, has an impact on limited or whatever, but the big deal is that's going to help bring the prices of these cards down. Cards like Zakama and some of those mythic dinosaurs from Ixalan, they were oddly expensive because they were mythics from an unpopular set. Now that they're rares in this set, it really should help decrease the prices. So I think from that perspective, the perspective of what's in this set and how the cards are reprinted, I think Wizards really nailed it. The bad news is, and this is takeaway number two, boxes are really expensive. And now that I've seen almost all the set, I think my advice is still the same as it was at the beginning of spoiler season, which is for most players, the correct thing to do with this set is not to get a box of the set because, so boxes, EV is really hard to calculate these days with all the special versions and stuff showing up randomly, but my thinking is the EV of this set's probably really good. However, the EV of the set is also inflated by the high-end cards, the capture of Xing Haos and Sun Kuais and Jeweled Lotuses and Loyal Retainers, and in any given box, especially with a set like this that's massive with hundreds of rares, over 100 rares in the set, and 35 mythics, it's almost like 2 sets in one, your odds of getting those cards in a 24-pack box is not actually very high. So I think the EV, if you calculated it, is going to be positive, but the variance is going to be really high because we've talked about many times the number of bulk rares in this set, and that number is pretty high. So my advice would be, don't buy a box of this set. Instead, pick up the singles while they're cheap. This is going to be a great window over the summer and through the fall most likely for players to pick up a bunch of commander staples that were 30 bucks, 50 bucks, 70 bucks for $10, $15, $20. So that's the value of this set. And I think even though the prices of sealed product are high, this set's going to do a ton to just drop the cost of staples over the short term. We've seen this many times before. Commander staples get reprinted, they drop, they go back up. That will likely happen again this time because Commander is just so popular and so many people want these cards. But for the next 6 months or so, there's going to be a window where you're going to be able to get some really expensive, really powerful staple level cards at a really big discount. So I think that's the best way to take advantage of this set. That's what I plan to do. I love cracking boxes, but I'm going to pass on opening a box of this set, I think. Instead, I'm just going to snag some singles to round out my decks while they're at a discount. So anyway, that's Commander Masters. That's been our daily spoilers for today. What do you think now that we've seen the whole set? Are you buying a box, you buying singles? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for hanging out this spoiler season, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, make sure to check out the Commander Precon spoilers over on the MTG Goldfish Commander channel next week. So thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Looking for even more magic? Well, make sure to check out yesterday's Commander Clash, where the entire crew had to build decks that cost $25 or less.